So, hello everyone. It's a weekly call for PHP 7.2 support on Magento 2 project. And let's go through the status that we have. So here, sorry, here is our board. And I'll just remind what kind of items we have here. So we have the most important column, which is a backlog, and those are the items which are ready for work. We are still investigating mcrypt removal and Zen Framework 1 upgrade or removal of some libraries. And in this ice box, we have right now just items broken down from Zen Framework 1 work. So it's per library mostly. So let's go through updates. I'll start, I guess. So from my side, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not sharing anything. Okay, let me start again. Yeah, here. Can you see my screen now? Okay, so again, we have the backlog items column, and we have a couple items in the investigation. And the ice box on the left is just breakdown of Zen Framework 1 items. About the progress, so from my side, I was reviewing and merging a couple pull requests. I was validating the Redis one. So update of PHP Redis session abstract. The pull request is made by Patrick. So it's related here, I think this one. And I was validating it on the cloud. It looks like it works fine. And it's merged now. It's merged to the main line. And another one is removal of static review library. And yeah. So here is the original pull request made by Roman. Basically just removes this library as we figured out that we really don't need it, we don't use it. And it causes like compatibility issues with other libraries. Let me see, so we merged those two pull requests, and another item that I just added for visibility is this one. Is about our Magento internal builds. Some of them are still running on PHP 7.0, so I'm working with our DevOps team to ensure that we run at least on the PHP 7.1. So it's in progress, and as in one of the pull requests, we are removing 7.0 support from Composer JSON. We need it to be done at the moment when we'll be merging to mainline. So I think that's all from my side. Do you have any questions regarding this? Okay, if no questions, then maybe Patrick, you can talk about your pull request you're working right now about Symfony 4.
Yeah, sure. I've been going through getting the Symfony components that are required updated to version 4. Most of that's done in the PR, and that also changes our PHP requirements to version 7.1.3 or greater in 7.2.
Mm-hmm.
But the changes that we saw there were pretty minor. There were a few deprecated helpers that were being used in console commands that were removed in Symfony 3 or Symfony Console 3. But and those were all internal to the execute methods. So really didn't introduce anything that looked like backwards incompatible changes. Also in that pull request, I've got a updated Travis configuration that removes the builds on PHP 7.0 and adds some builds on PHP 7.2.
Okay, so then I guess I can link the other task that we have for Travis, and so nobody will be working on it because we had a separate one. So I guess if you're already,
I thought I signed it.
Okay, yeah,
Did it?
then it works. It works. Cool. Okay.
So it was kind of interesting once I got the Travis file updated and it ran at least against my local repository. I pointed out an issue with each functions in the CM backend file cache, which looks like it's been fixed, but Colin hasn't tagged a release that includes it yet.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. And yeah, I see you've already merged another pull request that you had, right? Which updates all the files to 7.0, all the modules dependencies, right?
Yeah, that PR30 that originally had those, it had the outdated versions where we were still claiming support for 7.0. So I thought it made a little more sense to just merge everything together here.
Cool. Yeah, and I think the helper that you're mentioning, it's mostly table, right, in the Symfony console.
Yeah, table and question. And looking at the other console classes, it looks like none of them are using factory methods. They're instantiating the new question class and table class instances with the new keyword. So I kept that.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was reviewing the pull request, but yeah, then we agreed that let's combine it with another one. So if it's ready, I will be reviewing it again. Okay, thank you, Patrick. Any questions on this? Anybody? If not, I think we can move on, and Greg can probably present on the work he was working on, its environment and HLD if I'm correct.
Okay, can I share my screen?
Yeah, let's stop sharing.
All right, can y'all see that?
Yep.
Okay, so I've been working on trying to get a Docker environment together, and the environment that we have now that people are using, basically every time you make changes, you have to copy your changes into the container from the host. And so I was trying to set one up that had a shared environment. So right here, this develop environment section, this is on the first page of the wiki. It basically explains the two environments and how you use them. So the first one is the one that's got the shared environment. So if you go here, I wrote some instructions that's basically step by step how to do it. So it's, you basically just go through these steps, and you can actually build the container, the image, and then create the containers and install Magento into that. It's supposed to be a little bit slower than the second environment uses Union to basically do a file synchronization, and it's supposed to be quicker, but the fact that you have to change the image every single time that you make a change to your code base kind of makes it a little cumbersome, I would say. But anyway, they're both up here, and this one has obviously its instructions as well. So they're both available to use if you want them, and it's a lot easier than setting everything up. And I'm not a big fan of Vagrant, so that's why I was really trying to make sure that I got this working, and I did this week. So the instructions are there. The other thing that I've been working on is basically our cryptographic security and trying to get rid of encrypt and adding libsodium. My main goal for that was that I could make the changes so they were backwards compatible, and I think that I've pretty much done that. So it's pretty long. There was an HLD that was created by somebody. The author is unknown, so we're not really sure. But the guy, whoever created it, knew quite a bit about security, so I kind of stole some of his stuff. The features of a good security library and our goals. But the strategy section is, I guess my premise there was PHP, before PHP 7.2, Mcrypt was the library that was used for cryptographic security. And in 7.2, they upgraded it to libsodium because Mcrypt was not being supported anymore by the creators. And so it basically fell behind as far as security goes. And libsodium is sort of considered probably just the most secure library there is. And I think that's why PHP decided to bundle that with their 7.2 release. So, but what that means is that we needed to make a change as far as what we're going to use in our code base. And both of these libraries, Mcrypt and libsodium, are available outside of the bundled extension that ships with 7.1 or 7.2. And so what I wanted to do is sort of remove our dependency on PHP's decision of what they bundle and just decide to integrate those libraries into our code base based on Composer. So that's sort of what this strategy section goes through. And then, basically what this means for third-party modules if you're going to be developing them. And then the section 6 goes through sort of what we needed to change to support encryption. And the nonce is what's new to our cryptographic security. And so I was trying to, this section basically explains how we integrate the nonce without making any backwards incompatible changes to our interfaces. And I've created some code here, just some, boilerplate type stuff for whoever's going to do the implementation. And then this is the interface, basically. This is an addition. And then this is sort of an example implementation of that interface. So the nonce is used in authenticated encryption, which is basically, you give me a nonce, I'm going to encrypt it on my side, send it to you with the nonce, and then I want you to decrypt it once it gets on your side. So this is used in scenarios like REST, services, things like that. So it's not necessarily, you're not going to use this if you're going to encrypt data and put it in the database. A nonce is still used because of libsodium, but it doesn't have to be generated right then, sent to the client, and sent back. So anyway, this just gives our users the ability to have more secure communications from the client to the server, and that's kind of what we were lacking before now. So anyway, this is once again just an example implementation of how that would be done. And then for our normal encryption, basically the idea is before, so normal encryption would be the example of like if you're going to encrypt something and put it in the database. So all of those instances we know, so that can be done during installation, and we can take anything that was encrypted using Mcrypt, decrypt it using Mcrypt, and then encrypt it again using libsodium, and that can be done on install or some process that doesn't run directly during runtime of the application. And so here's some more example code. Here's the section right here related to refactoring. Just explains what whoever does this implementation, what they need to do, and specifically make note of during the refactor. And this talks about the migration tool, which is something that can be done to upgrade the encryption. The hashing section basically goes through and explains what needs to be done to, because hashing, the way hashing works is there's a very important piece of information that you need to know that we don't know. So that's not something we can do ahead of time. So the hashing has to be fixed, as soon as the user comes in and puts their password in. That's the important piece of information that we need. So the idea would be to use encrypt to decrypt to create the hash, validate that it's true, and then use libsodium to regenerate the hash and store it in the database. And then this is the random number generation section. It's pretty straightforward. There's not a lot that needs to be changed, and that's it. So it's kind of lengthy, but if anybody, the person who decides to do the refactor, if they walk through this, it should be pretty straightforward. So does anybody have any questions?
So I have one question about backwards compatibility. Can you clarify, do we need just to include, so what do we do? We remove dependency on encrypt extension, right? Because it doesn't exist in 7.2. And we require libraries, composer libraries. Do we need both of them?
Well, so 7.2 needs the composer version of encrypt, and 7.1 needs the libsodium, the composer version of libsodium.
So we need both of them in order to kind of convert data that we need, right?
Correct.
So we will be including both of those libraries. And we are not going to declare dependency on libsodium extension, or should we?
Well, it would be the composer, the composer version of it, not the one that is bundled with PHP.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my proposal. This hasn't been approved by anybody yet, and it's not set in stone. It's just, to me, it doesn't make sense to depend on what PHP bundles when those libraries are available through Composer.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that libsodium library basically works with libsodium extension if it's present, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And then from the interfaces perspective, you say that there is no backwards incompatible changes there for client codes?
Right. Correct.
Okay, cool.
So this interface, I'm introducing this interface. And so, for clients that, or for third-party developers who don't need to add this layer of encryption, they don't have to change their modules. They can just keep them how they are, and they can call into the existing interfaces, the encryption interface, and there shouldn't be any change for them. However, if they do want to to upgrade their security and add an extra layer of security during network calls, this is what they would want to implement.
Okay, good. Piotr, what do you think if we review the design document and really agree that it doesn't create any backwards incompatible changes? Should we be able to postpone this implementation till a patch release, or is it absolutely necessary? And what it means that I think until it's implemented on PHP 7.2, anything related to encryption will not work until it's implemented.
If you want to upgrade to 7.2, this has to be done.
Yeah. But on 7.1, I mean, we can just probably remove dependency on mcrypt. But on 7.1, everything will be working fine. And in the next patch release, if we add this implementation, 7.2 will start working as well with encryption.
That's great.
It's not great, but as long as we have we have those shared interfaces that will stay the same between when we move to Rhapsodium and or interface whatever, just the backward compatibility. This might be our only chance to get the other breaking changes done. So I think it might be okay.
Okay, so then let's.
Sorry, Olga. One more question. So one thing that we should probably do is run a query on extensions to make sure they don't use mcrypt directly and something like outside of what we have.
Good question. Let me ask Ravi to run it on Marketplace. I don't think we were doing this. I'll add it to my notes. Encrypt directly. But then, I mean, it means that they are not incompatible. They are incompatible with PHP 7.2 anyways. But they will be working on 7.1. So how I see it is that if we are not implementing this, Magento plus extensions on 7.1 will be working just fine. Then as soon as we implement this, they will start working on 7.2, and extensions that depend directly on mcrypt, they will have to use our interfaces that we'll implement.
Correct.
So yeah, I agree that it's not great to skip this, so let's try to implement it, but I guess we have to focus on breaking changes first, plus like reviewing this proposal, ensuring that everybody agrees with the approach, so it's ready, and then try to implement it, I guess. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Any questions, maybe specific questions that somebody has? If not, then I guess Patrick is working on the pull request with versioning, and this one with Symfony 4, right? Or are you done with it?
No, that one should be ready for review at the moment.
Okay, cool. So I will be reviewing it. I was also talking to you about updating Enterprise Edition or Magento Commerce called now, right? So then I guess you will be working on that. Ben is joining our project. We are really happy about that. So I don't know, Ben, maybe you can, if you are familiar with Zen Framework 1, maybe you can take a look at that items. I can discuss it with you if it makes sense, right?
Okay. You talking about the ones in the icebox?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we want to take a look at that at some point.
I don't know, anything else? Anybody else wants to take something? I guess no, we'll see. We'll see what do we do next. And yeah, I think our meeting is about to end. So thanks everybody for updates. Let's move on with this. Thank you and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.